Conservative Party Kemi Badenoch will be here in the studio. What does she make of the lack of NHS guidance following the Supreme Court ruling on the definition of a woman, following her punchy PMQ's performance this week? I'll also be joined by the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, Pat McFadden, as the government announces that they have cut NHS waiting lists by almost 50,000 in deprived areas. Are you feeling the benefits? Former senior NATO official Nicholas Williams will be here in the studio to reflect on President Trump and President Zelensky's meeting in Rome yesterday. Could a peace deal finally be agreed? Conservative peer, businessman and author Lord Moynihan will join me after the IMF slashed the UK's growth forecast earlier this week. What impact does he think President Trump's tariffs are going to have continuing on the economy? Welcome back. The leader of the Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch, joins me now in the studio. Lovely to see you this morning. Can I just say we did ask other leaders. We asked Labour, Lib Dems and indeed Reform. You decided to come on, so
thank you.
All credit to you. Now, I know you've been up and down the length and breadth of the country. How's it looking? Because you're in expectation management mode, aren't you? You want to tell me that you're going to do very, 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 very badly on Thursday in a bid to look better.
No, what I'm telling people is that it's not an opinion poll, that this is about who's going to run local services. I've been, as you say, everywhere, Warwickshire, Gloucestershire, Oxfordshire, and I'm listening to what people on the doorsteps are saying. They are still very angry, but this time they're not angry with Conservatives, they're angry with Labour. Labour has let them down. They're very angry about the winter fuel payment. Every other doorstep, and it's not just pensioners, it's their children, their grandchildren are angry about it. And I'm telling them that this is a chance to send Labour a message. If you vote for other parties, Labour slips through the middle. You look at what's happened in Birmingham, rubbish all over the streets, not being collected,
yes.
Rats running around. And you have to vote Conservative because we deliver better services for lower taxes across the board.
Although the latest polling puts, this is the Spectator poll of polls, Reform on 25, Labour on 23, Tory on 22, Lib Dems on 14, Greens on 9. I mean, this whole third place thing, you are being outgunned by Farage. You have to admit that. And also he is cutting through, isn't he? Is this big personality on the front pages of the newspapers?
Well, I'm on the front pages of the newspapers too. But the thing is, people are in a protest mood right now. So protest parties do well this side of the electoral cycle. 4 years ago, Keir Starmer had a horrific election. It was when we were polling high, middle of the vaccine bounds. He was completely written off. Today, he is Prime Minister. So the elections shouldn't be used as an opinion poll. People should not vote for them in that way. I need to make sure that I fix my party. People are very disillusioned, and I'm letting them know that the Conservative Party is under new leadership. No more of what was happening in the past, no more of the infighting and all of the rows. It's the other parties who are having all these rows and infighting.
All right.
But also reminding them that what we do is for them. It's not for us. We're delivering for the public.
I get that a week is a long time in politics and anything can change. Nigel Farage has put his chances of being the next Prime Minister at 45%. Where would you put your chances?
I don't speculate. I don't play guess the number. You know, he likes to talk about himself. I like to talk about what I want to do for the people of this country. Just get Britain moving again. Let's fix the things that aren't working.
All right, but you're saying it's a marathon and not a sprint. Probably a fitting term to use on today of all days. And good luck to all of those people running, mad as I consider them to be. But we have got the Scottish and the Welsh elections next year. So this idea that you're not in a hurry, you have to be in a hurry because, you know, at the end of the day, the Tories, as far as I can tell, are still facing somewhat of an existential crisis, aren't they?
We have been, we are in the aftermath of a historic defeat. We've never had so few MPs. Of course, it's going to take time. The last opposition was there 14 years, the one before that 13 years, the one before that 18 years. I've been leader 5.5 months, coming up to 6 months. You don't turn things around like that. And if things turn around quickly, be suspicious. It could be a flash in the pan. I am building solid foundations. Let's work out policy. When we've got the policy thought through, like indefinite leave to remain, we announce. When we have a new change of direction, net zero is impossible, we come out and announce it. But I'm not just saying things to get on the front pages of the papers or to tell people what they want to hear. I'm telling them the truth.
The counter-argument to that is you're dragging your heels on policy. You were in power for 14 years. You must have worked out, for instance, what you're going to do about immigration. Got Farage coming out this week saying, right, this is what I'm going to do. I'll have a Minister for Deportations. We will leave the ECHR. We will scrap the Human Rights Act.
Yeah.
You might laugh. At least the voters know where they stand.
Yeah, but we already have a Minister for Deportations. We have a Home Secretary. They're the Minister for Deportations. This is what I'm talking about, just saying things. Aren't people tired of just hearing people just talk rubbish? Our country is not a TV show.
With policy,
and I have said we are going to stop that conveyor belt to British citizenship. We had a big announcement on indefinite leave to remain. I talk about it every week, that people come to this country and immediately just get fast-tracked to citizenship via indefinite leave to remain. That's how we reduce the demand. I've talked about third country deterrence. We've got to get that Rwanda plan working. That's how we fix the boats. So we do have policies. But what I'm not going to do is treat our country like it's a TV show and say, hey, I'm going to have a Minister for Deportations. We already have that. Okay. That's the thing I'm talking about. Announcements are not plans. They're not policy. Policy is how you're going to do it, not just a headline in a newspaper.
All right, but will you consider some of these policies, leaving the ECHR, scrapping the Human Rights Act? Is that something that will be in your policy review?
They are already being reviewed. They're already being reviewed. But you can't just say it without knowing how you're going to do it. That's why it took so long to leave the EU after the vote, because people said, we're going to do this thing, and only started thinking about how to do it after the vote. That's not right. OK. Starmer,
you have said today in the Sunday Telegraph, you've written an op-ed for them, he's a coward with no moral core. This comes after you criticised him at Prime Minister's questions, basically saying he lacked balls. Do you regret those comments?
No. I don't.
Some people said they were unparliamentarian. I'm sure
they do. They also say saying someone is telling a lie is unparliamentarian.
Well, are you calling him a liar?
I speak the truth. I think it is very clear that this is a man who doesn't know what he believes. But the thing that I found most astonishing was that he could not bring himself to apologise to or even acknowledge Rosie Duffield, the MP for Canterbury, hounded out of his party with his permission. He was one of those people who was rebuking her. Now the Supreme Court has said that people like me and her were right all along. The amount of abuse that I got from Labour MPs, you would not believe the things they said. So I don't have any sympathy for them right now.
Why don't you just nail your colours to the mast and say that he's a liar? He had previously said that a woman is a female adult. In addition to that, trans women are women.
Yes.
That's not just my view, he said. That is actually the law.
Yes.
And now his spokesman has come forward and said, oh, he always believed that a woman was an... So he's a liar.
That is a lie. That is a lie. There are lots of things he says at PMQs that are not true. I can't say that he's lying there, but I can say it now. There are many things, like the ones you've just described. I talked about it in Parliament the day before. He said 99.9% of women have a penis, so don't have a penis, so 1 in 1,000 do. I mean, this is just not common sense. And if somebody cannot bring themselves to speak the truth because they're worried about a mob here or their dinner party set there, then what other decisions are they making for the country? Look at what's happening with unemployment. It's rising. Taxes are rising. People are angry. I told you about winter fuel payments. They're angry about that jobs tax.
And
they're
yet
not
Labour
hiring
have
people.
got the waiting list down, they claim.
They claim that
50,000
they claim that they've got the waiting list down. But this is Labour just telling people things. Let's actually look at what is happening out there. No one is happy. I've been going all around the country. No one has said, oh, I'm really glad about what Labour is doing with the NHS. They're talking about how Labour is killing their businesses. I've been on about 3 farms this week. Family farms tax, actively destroying farms. And yet, that's going to ruin our rural communities.
And yet, you have now, I mean, we talked about earlier about a week being a long time in politics. A lot of the polling is now revealing that Tories have reclaimed their reputation for fiscal competence in the light of Rachel Reeves's rather unpopular budget. You're now seen as being comparatively more fiscally disciplined. And yet, I've got to be honest, I don't know anything about your economic policies. I don't really know what you stand for on the economy. Shouldn't you be hammering home this advantage a little stronger?
Honestly, that is what we are doing. I talk about the jobs tax constantly. I talk about the national insurance rise. We had a whole press conference on it 3 weeks ago.
What are your top 3 economic policies?
So on the economy, it's all about looking after business. It's not government that creates growth, it is business that creates growth.
What would you scrap?
So, well, I've said that we're going to scrap the family business tax that Labour has brought in, for example. But it's about creating a competitive environment. The employment rights bill that Labour's bringing in is going to be another nail in the coffin for businesses around the country.
So we're going to oppose that.
Would you scrap
corporation tax? It rose under the Conservatives. That was a massive mistake.
So as I said, I'm not making policy on TV. There are certain things which I can say, but there are other things that need a very well thought through plan. I can't just say stuff on the back of an envelope.
What's your instinct, for instance, about the tax burden? It's way too high.
So the tax burden is way too high. That is something that I've said again and again and again. And those are the things that we got wrong when we were in government. Immigration, the tax burden being too high, and the answers that we were given were, oh, we need immigration for growth, or we need to raise taxes to pay for public services. And that's why I've said that we need to rewire the state.
But when will we get solid policies from Kemi Badenoch on these issues? Are we going to have to wait for the manifesto in 2029?
But we've already seen some policies. We've come out with policies on immigration. Every day, you know, people say, when are we going to see the policies? The policies are there, more will come. We've talked about the tax burden being too high. How we fix it? We may have to change all of the taxes in the country. We may have to look at a few. But that needs real thinking, getting real economic experts, and then showing our working. It's not just, well, we're going to do this and we'll work it out later. That is how the country got itself into the mess that it's in, by announcements without plans. And that's not what Conservatives do.
Fair enough. Kemi Badenoch, thank you for coming into the studio today. We need to leave it there.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Say that Mia Collins joins us in the studio now. Morning, Mia. Really good to meet you. And what's it like for you watching that experience back?
Lots of fond memories. I loved my time in the process, and, you know, TV shopping was definitely one of the big highlights for me. I loved it.
Was it really?
Genuinely, I really, really enjoyed it.
Because I wonder how much of these challenges and tasks do you come away from thinking, oh, that was awful?
For me personally, there weren't many occasions where I thought, oh, God, you know, what I've been able to do now is look back on all 10 episodes, and I'm actually really happy with my performance, so no regrets.
You're consistently strong.
Thank you.
That's why I was so shocked when you went out as number 6. I honestly thought you'd make it through to the final, but it was just that one mistake, wasn't it? It
was the wrong decision at the wrong time. Had it been another task, maybe I would have survived it through, but, you know, it's so difficult to get to that final 5, and Jordan and Anissa are really strong candidates, so I think I just drew the short straw.
I mean, did you go into it thinking this would help you as a business person, or is it a door to get into media, or I mean, what was the point of going on?
I think if you look at the kind of the general age of candidates nowadays, it's a younger audience, and I've grown up watching the show. So from my perspective, I'd always just grown up watching it, thinking, God, I really do think I could do that. I am in the midst of prep for my bodybuilding competitions, so my time is very centred around training and trying to get as much content and insight into that as much as I can. I think bodybuilding is one of those sports that not many people know all too much about, and I think there's a few misconceptions of it. So if I can educate people and bring correct information about the sport through means that I enjoy, then so be it. And whatever comes of it, comes of it.
GB News, the People's Channel.
On Thursday, the 1st of May, voters across England go to the polls.
In a series of council elections,
mayoral elections, and one crucial by-election.
They'll vote on the local issues that matter to them and let the parties know where they stand.
We'll be here throughout the night,
live around the country,
as the first results come in.
And from 6 a.m. on Friday morning, as it all becomes clearer, we'll be here to discuss what it means for you.
Vote 2025, the people decide, from 11 p.m. on Thursday.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Pat McFadden, thank you very much indeed for joining me on GB News. Lovely to see you, as is ever the case. Now, tell us, what's been discussed between Keir Starmer, President Zelensky, President Trump? Can you just update us on those very significant talks at the Vatican yesterday?
Well, it was a very powerful image, wasn't it? Seeing President Trump and President Zelensky speaking one-to-one like that. And the aim here is to get a stop to the fighting, of course, but from the UK government's point of view, it doesn't stop there. What we really want to see is a peace that lasts, a peace that's secure, so that we don't have a stop just so that President Putin can bide his time and maybe start up again in a year or 2 years or whenever. So that is really at the heart of all these discussions, is how to bring this war to an end, which everybody wants, but how to do so in a way that lasts.
Pat, I've just been speaking to a former NATO official, Nicholas Williams, who says that the peace deal as it stands now is a complete sellout, that it isn't what Ukraine needs, you know, a complete concession really to Russia on territory and no US guarantee in response.
Well, Ukraine will have to agree a peace deal. I mean, if they don't agree, there won't be one. And we are an ally of Ukraine, and so it's important that Ukraine is at the table. Ukraine is part of the negotiations. It's about their future, after all. So they will have to agree any deal, and I'm sure there'll be discussions in Ukraine about that, about what they want to agree, about what they don't want to agree. But they've got to sign up to any peace deal.
Let's just move on to more domestic matters. Now, Rachel Reeves, your colleague as Chancellor, keeps on blaming world affairs on the current rather difficult state of Britain's finances. And yet the IMF has said it hasn't got anything to do with Trump or Russian invasions or increased energy costs. It's actually because of the budget. They've cited domestic factors. So can we accept that, unfortunately, the budget has caused people in the UK to suffer economically?
I think the budget fixed a very difficult economic inheritance, and it had a lot of things to put right. And it's because of the budget that we're now seeing the beginnings of a turnaround in some areas. For example, NHS waiting lists falling for 6 months in a row. What a contrast to recent years, down by 200,000 instead of going up and up and up every year. We've got more diagnostic and treatment centres in local communities, 4.5 million new tests and diagnostics there. That's up 50% on the period over the last year. So I accept that not every decision in that budget was popular, but it was the foundation for the turnaround that we're beginning to see in the NHS, the capacity to get more teachers into our schools, to recruit more police officers in local communities, because people are really worried about crime in their local areas. And so it was a necessary step in order to fix things. And I accept we need to do more on the delivery side, and we will as things go forward, but we're starting to see some results of that in some of the fields I mentioned.
But it's not just unpopular decisions in the budget, is it? It's bad ones. For instance, we learned today, I've just discussed it with Lord Moynihan, that capital gains tax receipts are down 1.4 billion. That's not a successful budgetary decision, is it?
Well, look, everybody can have their opinion on the decisions, but we had to sort out the public finances.
Well, how does losing 1.4 billion in capital gains tax receipts sort out the public finances?
Well, overall, the budget increased receipts. We've seen that. That's provided the funds for the public services that I've been talking about.
How much has the budget increased receipts by in comparison to that 1.4 billion? What's the figure on that?
Well, the budget increased overall receipts by some tens of billions, and that's the money that's going into the NHS, that's going into our schools, that's enabling us to recruit police officers, that's going to be the basis for the capital investment in transport in the future, and the other things that the country needs going forward.
OK. We interviewed Kemi Badenoch, the Conservative leader, earlier on the show, and she said Keir Starmer was a liar because he had previously said that women can have a penis, or at least some women. I think 0.1% of women could have a penis. And now he seems to be saying that, oh, no, he always agreed with the Supreme Court that trans women aren't women. He's fibbing, isn't he?
No, that's not the case. Look, we welcome the court judgment that came out last week, and there's been some new guidance from the EHRC as well to authorities and how they should implement this. And, you know, we'll take that forward now that the guidance has been published.
But he once said that trans women were women, and he once suggested that 1 in 1,000 women can have a penis. So he wasn't aligned with the Supreme Court judgment at all, was he? Why is he pretending that he said something different to what he said? It's just a lie.
All the way through this, look, all the way through this, he's tried to treat people with dignity and respect, and we've still got to do that in this debate. In responding to the judgment, that's what he's tried to do. That's what he said at Prime Minister's questions the other day, and that's what we've all got to do here. We've got some clarity from the court, which is welcome. And we've got some new guidance which will have to be implemented now in the fields of sport and all sorts of other areas.
All right. In the spirit of treating everyone with dignity and respect, why won't he apologise to his former Labour colleague, the MP for Canterbury, Rosie Duffield?
Well, look, I think Rosie left the Labour Party for a number of reasons.
Well, she was bullied out of the party because of her transgender views. That's what she says. That's why she left the party. She was gender critical. She got a load of problems from the whips and others. She couldn't get a conversation with Keir Starmer. She felt forced out. And now, quite rightly, she's been vindicated by the Supreme Court and is asking why on earth the Prime Minister, if he wants to respect everyone and give them dignity, she hasn't received a fulsome apology.
I mean, when I read her piece in the Times, I think it was yesterday, I think she said she wouldn't be interested in it, and that she wouldn't find it meaningful. And her letter of resignation, I was sorry to see her go, but her letter of resignation outlined a number of different policy dissatisfactions. This may have been one, but it wasn't the only one. And so I think she left for a number of reasons. And, you know, when we stood at the election last year, we said we would protect single-sex spaces. We want to do that. That protection for single-sex spaces was in our own Labour Equality Act from back in 2010, and that's what we'll do going forward.
Yvette Cooper, your colleague as Home Secretary, has vowed to smash the gangs, and yet we understand that Labour is going to pay landlords 5 years of rent to accommodate asylum seekers. How on earth does that help to smash the gangs? And how on earth does the party of the worker get itself into the situation that it is providing housing for asylum seekers while people living in Britain legally are struggling to get on the housing ladder?
There's nothing new about the Home Office renting private accommodation. It's been doing it for years.
But for 5 years at a stretch?
For a long time. It happened under Alaska. Well, I don't know
That's
what
new, isn't
the length
it?
of the past contracts was, but this is not new. It is not new for the Home Office to be renting private accommodation. And what she's trying to do, very importantly, is deal with the situation where we've got hotels in many towns, including my own in Wolverhampton, where the public don't want to see the local hotel used in this way. We're trying to get the backlog down instead of ignoring it, as the Tories did, and pretending it's not there. That was a recipe for more and more people housed in temporary accommodation, whether it's hotels or private housing, for years and years on end. We're starting to tackle that backlog. Hopefully we can close more of these hotels, and hopefully we can get this backlog dealt with, as well as doing more to stop and try to combat the problem at source, which is the trafficking gangs themselves. But on this issue of renting private accommodation, the Home Office has been doing it for a long, long time.
All right, Pat McFadden, we need to leave it there, but thank you very much indeed for your time this morning on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we are in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Joining me to discuss the scenes that unfolded in the Vatican yesterday is former senior NATO official Nicholas Williams. Lovely to see you this morning, Nicholas. Quite extraordinary, that photograph, wasn't it, of President Trump and President Zelensky in the Vatican. What do you make of it all?
Extraordinary, but it just goes to show how frantic the Europeans and the Ukrainians are to deflect President Trump from what they consider to be a disastrous peace proposal.
Is it disastrous?
It's not disastrous for the Russians.
No.
And the Russians and I think the United States have choreographed this week in order to put maximum pressure on Ukraine. But it is disastrous not only for Ukraine, but for the whole idea of a rules-based order in Europe.
And just spell out why that is, in case people might not be across the detail, but what we're talking about here is a 7-point plan which seems to me to concede a huge amount of territory to Russia without any US security guarantee.
Well, it concedes a huge amount of territory. It concedes that Ukraine will never choose to belong to a securities organization like NATO. It neutralizes Ukraine. And the problem is that it's against all concepts that we've had in Europe on international law,
yes,
in terms of recognizing countries, in terms of recognizing or non-recognizing the aggression or the seizure of territory by aggression.
So what's your interpretation of what Trump has put on Truth Social about, basically saying, look, I think I'm being played by Putin. Putin isn't honouring the terms of this agreement. Missiles are still being fired at the Ukrainians. We've got to stop people dying. Is this Trump negotiating? Is this Trump having had the scales fall from his eyes, that this appeasement of Putin was never going to work, because he's a dictator who likes killing his enemies. I mean, what's gone on here?
Well, I don't think it's a moment of clarity for Trump. It's a negotiating tactic. He's also under pressure from elements in the United States, even in the Republican Party, who see this as a historic turnaround in the United States commitment to Europe and commitment to the principles of international law and the principles of non-aggression and the principle of deterrence against Russia. So,
but then do you think that a deal could ever be achieved that would ever see Ukraine admitted to NATO? I mean, people like Trump argue in the first place that, in fact, Nigel Farage has argued this, that flirtations with admission to NATO of Ukraine poked the Russian bear in the first place.
Well, that's a long debate. But basically, this whole idea of taking NATO off the table means that Ukraine will be subject to whatever whim in terms of foreign policy Russia has for it. And it doesn't have freedom of maneuver. The one argument, crucial argument in favor of Trump is that he's recognizing reality.
Yes.
NATO countries at the moment are split in terms of NATO admission to Ukraine. Yes, they say in declaratory terms it will be a member someday, but they've never made much progress since 2008, when that commitment or promise or vision was first made.
But although you don't like the look of this deal and you've spelled out exactly why that is, the pragmatic peacemaker has to concede territory to Russia.
And Ukraine, as I understand that what they're negotiating with the Europeans is that they're quite flexible in terms of conceding some territory.
Yes, Crimea, for instance. Crimea's gone, isn't
it? But they don't want in advance to be told that they must sign up to a ceding of Crimea or the 4 oblasts.
But when Trump's having a go at New York Times journalists and all the rest of it on his Truth Social post, he does make one pertinent point, doesn't he? That Crimea was given away under Barack Obama and the Western world's watch. The Western world didn't do anything about it. He's now arguing, I'm having to clear up the mess that was left by a Western world basically turning a blind eye to a Russian invasion in 2014.
That's a very false and superficial depiction of the facts in 2014. The NATO system, the American system, Obama, imposed sanctions and didn't recognise and didn't actually accept the.
While European nations are literally freebasing Russian oil and gas.
Yes, and that was the problem. And they thought, the European nations, that they could manage this. There were the Minsk agreements between France, Germany, Ukraine and Russia, and they thought that that was a diplomatic process that could have some weight with Russia. And so it's not true to say they gave it away in 2014.
What do you make of President Trump's boasts about winning a Nobel Peace Prize one day?
I'm not sure. He obviously, for him, Ukraine is a sideshow. The major issue is Iran. He's threatened Iran with war.
Yes.
Unless they come up with a peace deal. Russia, and this is the connection, he wants Russia to assure Iran that Iran will have a friend if the Americans renege on a peace deal with Iran. So he needs Russia for this Iran peace deal.
Even though Iran has been substantially weakened in
even though it's been
substantially
weakened, and this is what he feels is the opportunity.
This is the advantage he pushes home.
And so he doesn't care about Ukraine so much.
Although it's got to be a different deal with Iran than the previous nuclear deal, which he was constantly critical of.
Yeah, well, what he hopes is that Iran will make concessions in terms of Hamas and Hezbollah and supporting the terrorists in terms of attacking Israel.
And what's the chances of that, do you think, Nicholas?
Nil.
So it's a fruitless exercise?
It's a fruitless exercise. It's an exercise in Trumpism, Trumpist illusion.
Not painting a particularly positive picture for foreign affairs over the course of the next few weeks and months.
Well, this is a historic moment. It is a turning point.
OK. Nicholas Williams, thank you very, very much indeed for your very candid appraisal of world events. Coming up next, I'm going to be speaking to the Conservative peer and businessman Lord Moynihan. He's going to join me to reflect on the IMF slashing the UK's growth forecast. Rachel Reeves, it says it's all about Trump, but is it actually all about her budget? This is the Camilla Tominey Show, only on GB News.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
High pressure is in charge mainly across Europe at the moment, but its positioning is leading to some slightly different conditions. Out across Iberia, there's plentiful amounts of sunshine and a really lovely day to come tomorrow in particular. There are some showers, though, lingering around Italy, parts of the Balkans, just to watch out for. And there's quite a keen breeze developing from the Black Sea down through into the Aegean, so it is going to be quite fresh along some of those Greek islands. But with high pressure sticking around, it is going to be remaining fairly settled into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. Don't worry if you missed out on the sunshine this weekend. As we head into next week, even more of us will be seeing some blue skies. It will take its while, though, for northern areas of the UK. We do still have this rain band in play for this evening and overnight. It's quite a damp and breezy period to come for, particularly northwestern Scotland. Dry night elsewhere, and underneath the clearest skies of England and Wales, there will be some patchy mist and fog developing, and we could see a very patchy grass frost as we kick off Monday morning. There will be some low cloud and fog just lingering around the channel as we head throughout Monday, so some of that may just drift its way towards southern coasts of England at times, but inland, once any of that early mist and fog has cleared, there'll be plentiful amounts of sunshine to be greeted with. Still a touch of cloud for Northern Ireland, Northern England first thing, but all eyes are on this area of rain that will continue its journey ever so slightly northwards as we do head throughout Monday. So Caithness, Sutherland, parts of the Outer Hebrides and over towards Orkney will still have some rain at times during the day, but we will start to see the skies brightening for Northern Ireland, particularly County Down, parts of Northern England and southern and central Scotland as well. And then for the bulk of England and Wales, plentiful amounts of sunshine throughout the day, and it will be feeling rather warm out there. Highs between 20-24 degrees Celsius, well above our late April average. High pressure will be building in more widely as we head into the rest of next week, helping to push that weather front even further out of the way. So still the chance of a little bit of cloud and patchy rain for the likes of the Northern Isles during Tuesday, but really the vast majority of us are going to have a wonderful day out there. Plentiful amounts of sunshine, just a bit of a breeze around the far south coast here, but otherwise it certainly will be feeling again very warm, and temperatures will continue to climb in the sunshine that we do have. Mid to high 20s are very likely for many of us as we head towards the end of the week.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Welcome back. Let's talk about the economy now. Conservative peer and businessman Lord Moynihan joins me now in the studio. An expert on growth, I would say, Lord M, you are. So let's get into it then. Trump's tariffs, first of all. I mean, I appreciate we've got this 90-day pause. Do you think he'll reinstate them, or has he learned his lesson?
I think Trump overall is the good, the bad and the ugly. Good is his 100 executive orders, freeing up the US economy, sensible energy policy and so forth. And that's all good, and it's going to help Americans a lot, just like his last period of office did. The bad is the tariffs. Oddly enough, he says he hates the European Union, and he's trying to make the US like the European Union with all these tariffs.
Protectionist.
And it's going to hurt people, and the people it's going to hurt most is the Americans. The Federal Reserve Bank did a study on his last lot of tariffs. He did steel tariffs in 2019. They said, "Oh, well done, Trump. You protected 1,000 jobs in the steel industry in America, and by the way, you destroyed 125,000 jobs in the downstream advanced steel manufacturing industries in the US."
Yeah.
So it's your own country you destroy with tariffs.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, does he really mean it? Or, as you say, this 90-day...
Well, it's hard to know. You know, I'm going to get rid of the chairman of the Federal Reserve. Oh, actually, no, I'm not. Oh, I'm going to have the tariffs. Oh, actually, no, I'm not. The only thing he's been consistent on, and let's discuss this, is China. Surely it has been a good thing for the US president to basically expose this absolutely ridiculous addiction that we have had to cheap Chinese goods, often made using slave labour. That's why they undercut our industries. They don't play by the rules. You speak to somebody like James Dyson, they say the Chinese will just completely ignore intellectual property, knock off a version of my air wrap. These people don't play by the WHO or WTO rules, and therefore he should be taking on the Chinese.
Fair enough, but an awful lot of that manufacturing is moving out of China, to Vietnam, to India. Apple is moving all of its iPhone manufacturing to India, and that's not going to help the Rust Belt whatsoever. Back in America, they won't get any jobs from that, and steel won't come back, and all these basic industries won't come back, whatever happens. Because as an economy grows, and as you're trying to get your citizens richer and richer, you've got to move into the higher and higher value-added sectors. And to do that, you've got to educate really well, and education in America can be really awful, just like it can in this country be really awful, and it's going to be worse with the reforms Labour's putting in. Unless you have really well-educated and inspired people, you can't put them into the higher value-added jobs, because steel, if it ever is made in America, will be made behind a desk, you know, with a white-collar worker, not a blue-collar worker.
Well, let's bring it to the UK then.
Yes.
I mean, there's a quest now. We've got Nigel Farage being positively Trumpian and indeed Vancian in saying we need to reindustrialise and we need to be up the worker and all the rest of it. I mean, we crossed that Rubicon already. We're now a services economy. Are we going to start, you know, reinvigorating factories and going back to coal mining and all the rest of it? We're not, are we, John?
Well, definitely not going to do that, Camilla.
But we're sitting on this mountain of coal, and yet we're importing stuff in order to keep the blast furnaces going. I don't quite...
Having a doctrinaire energy policy, close down North Sea, close down all coal mines and so forth, is just silly. There is, on the more general issue of are we ever going to do manufacturing again, can we do more manufacturing, there is a way to do that, which basically says have a cluster around a university that has really good research, that produces R&D, like whatever, 3D printing, nanotubes, etc., neuroscience, and then start up companies. We're now talking about the supply side, which the IMF and the OBR and Labour all hate, start up companies that then can grow rapidly and produce jobs in those areas.
Yes.
And we could get a great deal of manufacturing benefit from those high value-added businesses.
I know, but who wants to start a company at the moment following the budget?
Precisely. Well,
I mean, Rachel Reeves is saying, oh, you know, Britain's current economic woes are as a result of world-changing events. They're not, are they?
No, not at all.
The IMF said it was domestic factors.
Yes, yes.
So what's your reaction to
I
that?
gave a speech on Friday and I said, you know, stop blaming the energy spike, stop saying that inflation was created by external things, stop saying that it was the Russian war. It was us. We spent too much money on silly things and we never pulled that spend back after COVID. We didn't have like a Sweden or a Florida strategy for COVID that would have let our economy keep going.
So you're blaming the
all
Tories
us.
for this as much as Labour?
I'm afraid so, and I said that very explicitly.
So where are we now? What would be your 3 top tips for growing the British economy if you were advising the Chancellor right now?
Well, the first thing is to start understanding where growth comes from.
Private sector, not public.
Private sector business, but it's from what's called the supply side.
Yeah.
And you were talking earlier about the IMF and having to downgrade its prediction. The IMF's always been very pessimistic about the UK under the Tories, and they always had to upgrade their forecasts. Suddenly they flipped when Labour came in, and they were very optimistic. Oh, we're going to grow at 1.5%, 2%. And so they're always having to downgrade.
You can't be suggesting the IMF is ideologically motivated, John.
Yes, I can.
Yes, indeed, all right.
What they hate is this idea. Supply side is a phrase that was used by Ronald Reagan and in the era when Art Laffer first came to fame. And it's a doctrine on the left that Art Laffer is stupid and they all go, Art Laffer, ha, ha, and quickly try and suppress it. But every single day, I mean, yesterday in the Times, you see that receipts from capital gains tax were down 10%.
Yes.
What Art Laffer says is...
Down 1.4 billion, I read, yeah.
So you put taxes up and tax rates up and tax receipts go down. And how can it do anything but that? How can the economy do anything but actually do much worse?
But what would you be slashing? If you give that advice, then what tax would you slash first? Would it be corporation tax?
Yes, it has to be taxes on business.
Right.
You've got to make it more attractive for people to come back to this country. The non-dom, getting rid of the non-doms was unbelievably stupid. It's not by any means the only bunch of people who are leaving this country.
No, but we need the wealthy to pay their fair share, John. This is the argument
But
from
that,
Labour.
again, under the Conservatives and Labour, they're utterly stupid. They just listen to their civil servants who have some kind of hate on Greek ship owners or French
anyone
bankers.
With money, perhaps. I mean, apparently 1 millionaire's leaving every 45 minutes and all the rest of it.
Exactly. So
you're quite wealthy, John. Why aren't you leaving?
Well, because I've been afforded the enormous privilege of having a small influence on what happens by being in the House of Lords, and
So you're sticking with it. I mean, can Britain turn this corner?
Yes. Funny enough, there was a text yesterday from it almost made me sort of my eyes prickle from a chap who said, me and my wife, we've got a business of about 45 people in the Midlands, and we were about to pack it up and leave the country. And I've just read your book, and it's given me hope, and we're going to stay. And I thought, oh my God!
Oh no! You now need.
We got 4.5 more years of catastrophic, anarchic destruction by the Labour Party.
Well, final question: will the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, still be in post in a year's time?
I think probably yes, because who else is there?
And recession, yes or no, over the next 12 months?
Definitely.
Definitely?
Yeah, I'm absolutely convinced. Certainly recession per capita.
Yes, so, I think we're already in that, though. But actual recession?
Yes, I'm thinking so too.
We were talking earlier, Lord Moynihan, about you suggesting that the best way to get growth going was to cut business taxes. Very much Liz Trussian approach to the economy. Has she been vindicated to some extent, despite the mini-budget and the calamitous exit from power that she had to endure?
Well, let's look at what she was trying to do. She was trying to cut corporate taxes, business taxes, employment taxes, so that people who wanted to start up businesses or hire more people were confident that if they did that, they wouldn't have a disaster. And people who wanted to be employed were confident that they'd make reasonable money. And that came to an end when Liz was replaced by Rishi Sunak. And ever since then, both Conservatives and Labour have been testing to destruction the idea that, no, you can raise taxes all over the place, particularly business taxes, because apparently people won't mind about that. And therefore, when you do that, you'll get lots more tax in. You can spend money on, your pals in the railway unions and all of that, and everything will be fine. We've tested that to destruction, and the economy is going down and down, and it's going to get worse and worse. And tax receipts have not gone up, as we were talking about capital gains tax. But what is happening is there is this enormous flood of people leaving the country. And it's not just millionaires, it's not just non-doms, it's 20-something people, high flyers in the City of London, ambitious people. It's hairdressers going off to Dubai. And we're not just moving, some of our best people are fleeing the country. Sectors are fleeing the country. Private education is moving to the United Arab Emirates. If you send your kid to a private school in Scotland, why not fly them over to Dubai, where there's no VAT, where they don't teach woke nonsense and so forth.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. Don't worry if you missed out on the sunshine this weekend. As we head into next week, even more of us will be seeing some blue skies. It will take its while, though, for northern areas of the UK. We do still have this rain band in play for this evening and overnight. It's quite a damp and breezy period to come for, particularly northwestern Scotland. Dry nights elsewhere, and underneath the clearest skies of England and Wales, there will be some patchy mist and fog developing, and we could see a very patchy grass frost as we kick off Monday morning. There will be some low cloud and fog just lingering around the channel as we head throughout Monday, so some of that may just drift its way towards southern coasts of England at times. But inland, once any of that early mist and fog has cleared, there'll be plentiful amounts of sunshine to be greeted with. Still a touch of cloud for Northern Ireland, Northern England first thing, but all eyes are on this area of rain that will continue its journey ever so slightly northwards as we do head throughout Monday. So Caithness, Sutherland, parts of the Outer Hebrides and over towards Orkney will still have some rain at times during the day, but we will start to see the skies brightening for Northern Ireland, particularly County Down, parts of Northern England and southern and central Scotland as well. And then for the bulk of England and Wales, plentiful amounts of sunshine throughout the day, and it will be feeling rather warm out there. Highs between 20-24 degrees Celsius, well above our late April average. High pressure will be building in more widely as we head into the rest of next week, helping to push that weather front even further out of the way. So still the chance of a little bit of cloud and patchy rain for the likes of the Northern Isles during Tuesday, but really the vast majority of us are going to have a wonderful day out there. Plentiful amounts of sunshine, just a bit of a breeze around the far south coast here, but otherwise it certainly will be feeling again very warm, and temperatures will continue to climb in the sunshine that we do have. Mid to high 20s are very likely for many of us as we head towards the end of the week.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be driving away with this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. It comfortably sleeps 4, comes with sky roof, integrated kitchen and bathroom, and is worth over £67,000. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that wherever this motorhome takes you, it takes you there in style. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's